Hola! Bienvenidos a Oye Cinema Club. I am your host, Jason Ishmael Eccles, and I am joined by an illustrious panel of co hosts. We will be reviewing the 2023 film Origin. I am joined, of course, as always, by Steve Des TD, El Dondino, Love, Eat, Cry, or Couch Dignified Couch Potato, one of the two, and of course, JP. Welcome, everybody.
Hello.
So, we reviewed the movie Origin. The reason I picked this movie is because I got a couple of recommendations from people late last year, and I wanted to see it. And I was like, you know what? Tonight's going to be the night that I do, and I'm dragging Cinema Club with me. It really was that simple. I didn't know too much about what the movie was about. I just knew that there was a book that accompanied it in some way, shape, or form. Mostly, I found out about the movie, ironically enough, is because I was searching for the book. And then, when I was searching for the book, the movie came up. That was like sometime last year. And I was like, huh, there's a movie for this book that just came out. That's bizarre. But we'll talk about that. This is a real arts imitate life type situation. And this thing is a bit of an education, at least it was for me. I don't know about you guys, but we'll jump in that too as well. So, why don't everybody just jump into their first impressions? If you guys don't mind, we'll start with Marina.
Yay. So my first impression, this was I watched it for the first time recently. I had gone to a panel for Lawless, a show that's also created by Ava DuVernay. I always almost stutter on her last name. Such a beautiful name. And I'd heard her on the panel, and it made me really interested in something. So I'm glad that you picked this because I was super interested in watching more of her work. This movie was just so well made. Right away, I learned I'm such an advocate for anything that's wrong and making it right, and to have a lot more information to actually be able to look up and see other perspectives on things. It was really well done, in a very great way because I have a hard time retaining a lot of information, and so I feel like I learned so much from the way this was written. It was like it was written for, I feel like, our generation, like how we process things. But just right away, it took me in. I love that there was a love story involved too. I'm a love story girly,
Mhm.
but just overall, um, so much to say. But it was overwhelmingly great.
All right, awesome. Why don't we cut down to Steve Des TV? Steve, what do you have for a first impression?
First impression is the first time I see this movie. I did not hear about it before. I did not see a trailer. I just went cold, blind, and saw it. And just like Marina and Jason, both, I echoed their opinions. I did get a great education from this film. I felt like more than a film, I felt like I was doing like a research paper with her throughout this film. I thought so many things about the film itself. Like I don't know if it's because I myself been like kind of searching for a way to explain stuff like this, and I feel like the way that this film made it was like incredible because like it didn't matter if on any given moment, like in the beginning there was like one dialogue scene that I thought it was like a little weak to me, so I looked away, but like quickly pulled me back in. So it's like one of those films that is really interesting, and like you will show to someone, and even if someone goes like, I'm not interested in watching that, there's gonna be something that is gonna hook them in. And I feel not a lot of films can do that. And now that you mentioned that the book came out and immediately the movie came out, that's incredible. Especially the book came out like during like peak pandemic, no, or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So for this movie to come out that quick, and not only that, but to actually have the integrity and be so good, to not only be a great film itself, but to be a great educational piece, because this will be something that if I was a teacher right now of like history or something, I would definitely give this to my students, and stuff like that. So overall, a great film, great piece of cinema. I can see why it has won awards and things.
Well, Steve, you and I share a lot of the same sentiments on that. We'll get more into that later, folks. But before we do, let's shoot over to Dino. Dino, can you give us your first impression?
Yes. I think this might be the one where everyone is kind of in agreement because I feel the same. This movie kind of went. Uh, I didn't know about it. At least I don't remember hearing about it, which I feel bad because doesn't Ava have her little studio down the street from our apartment, Jason?
She
Is that
does.
her? Yeah. So I wish I would have known. I would have gone and checked it out over there. Maybe who knows? I really enjoyed it, but I feel the same thing. I was really worried. I had no idea what it was. Didn't I just clicked on the link that Steve sent us, and when the Trayvon Martin thing, I was like, oh, I'm not ready. I was like, I'm not mentally prepared for this. If it's gonna be a movie just like about this case, I was just like, oh no, this is gonna crush me. This is gonna like completely, and then I went into the whole Germany thing, and I kind of like Steve, like kind of looked away because I was like, oh, I gotta prepare myself. And then they're talking in German, and I was like, was ist los? Was ist passiert? And it was such a interesting way. I was trying to tell my aunt and then my cousin about it, and it's like, it sounds like a documentary. And I was like, yeah, it feels like a documentary. It feels like a combination of like a documentary and a movie because then it has like reenactment. And it could be a new moderny kind of way of storytelling, especially with modern subjects. We just did Stupid Money, and I'm like, that literally happened 3 years ago or 2 years ago. Do we really need a movie? And this is something that kind of can show that, yeah, it can have the subject matter of something that's so fresh, like the wounds haven't healed yet, do it in a way when it's not shoving stuff down your throat, but it's using the history of everything that's kind of happened before, and not just of one single point of view, but throughout the world. Like, so great. Oh my god. I don't know what else. Let's go to someone else, or I won't stop talking. Just keep
All
going.
right.
I'll go to someone else.
Thanks, Dino. Yeah, you brought up a lot of really interesting points that I also second as well. JP, give us your first impression of the film.
Okay, so there's this sequence in which the character Isabel is trying to talk about the point of the picture with her cousin, and the cousin tells her politely, "Try to explain it to me in like layman terms. Try to explain it to me as you would a person." And she did. It was a very long and powerful sequence of dialogue, and I couldn't help but think, I still don't know what's going on in this picture. Nah, I'm just joshing. No, I really did not know where this. I felt like those two rich ass white folks, what she was trying to say, it's all about the caste system. I couldn't help but feel like I'm in their places. Like, what the fuck do you mean about the caste system? Because that's what it says on the synopsis, the storytelling, and it takes a while for us to even get to that point. So I completely forgot that this was what the movie was going to be about. So it is straight up an education, and I cannot help but I'm surprised this movie, like I think you guys said, it was very much under the radar, and it's actually not all that widely available on streaming unless you have to rent it. which is fine. I did rent it for the on the Amazon Prime Video.
You know why,
And
JP? Because it's a
oh,
caste
what
system. Caste system. Only the people on the top that have the money to rent the movie are going to be able to take advantage of it. Sorry.
I feel like those people will be pissed off at the movie.
Yeah, you're right.
But no,
You're right.
I can't help but admire from like a filmmaking standpoint, especially the recreations and the flashback sequences, because there's plenty. There's three main stories that are going on that's regarding Isabel and her trying to figure out the connection of Cass and today's society because of Cass. And like when you see all three, it's like those are all, they could all be their own movie.
Yeah.
Like I was shocked that it opened with the Trayvon stuff, because when it was happening, I was like, this was awfully familiar. And as soon as the person on the phone says, Trey, like, just get home, I was like, fuck, is this Trayvon Martin? Is that what's going on? Like, holy shit, like that. Oh, that was hard to watch. That's the thing about this movie. A lot of it is hard to watch. It's really, it's a lot, man. But that ain't a bad thing. But if you're anyone like me, who's simple-minded doo-doo head, you're gonna take a while to figure out what's going on, and they're gonna have to pretty much just lay it on you. Is like, this is what the movie is about. This movie that's not based on the book, but the making of the book. I love how the movie actually starts that way too. It's like, this isn't about the book. This is about the making of the book. Well, yeah, it was
JP, real quick, did Michaela get to watch it with you?
Oh yeah, they did. They did. No,
any thoughts?
oh man, like basically they were like, this is what I was trying to tell you, and I'm like, bro, I don't know how much I have to tell you, man, that I'm dumb.
Yeah, it's funny because I was gonna be like, this is like, breaking down what's going on for dummies, but I guess it's not.
Damn, JP just got called out dummy.
That was my hope. I was like, wow, finally an angle for people who get defensive by certain words. We're not even going to use that word the whole movie. We're not even going to say racism. We're going to call it caste. You know what I mean? Like, because people get so sensitive when you make it personal, I guess you could say, and make it about race. And so I was like, wow, this is like explaining this for dummies, but I guess I can't say that anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. The movie takes a very broad and sort of untouched look into this very dense subject matter and very fragile subject matter, and it talks about it openly and kind of unbiasedly, and it's given information that most people just don't know, and it's really doctoral, right? It's like, this is what a PhD is. This person's taking these ideas that have not really been explored and correlated to one another, and they're serving it up to us in a book, obviously. But what also makes this thing fascinating to me is that she's doing all this work on top of a book that was published 60, 70, 80 years ago, on some real anthropologist stuff, a very important work, Deep South. It's a very important work. It's a seminal work if anthropology of the American South, during Jim Crow South. And the fact that book exists and I never heard of it is wild. That everyone should know what that is. It's an anthropological study that was funded about what life was like in the Jim Crow South from 4 scholars who are undercover. I mean, when you think about it, that should almost be a movie itself. And they put that as a little piece of the movie in the movie. And so this movie is in pieces and fragments, and it's kind of all over the place. But, by the end of it, you're really thankful that they would even make a movie about the making of, or excuse me, the making of a book. This also, keep in mind, guys, this isn't our first movie we've watched about writers and them making their writing and stuff. We've watched a few of these, I think, now. So this thing is loaded with stories and characters and segments and time frames. What's the one that you guys look forward to or like the most or had the most impact on you?
Can you finish your initial thoughts, or you kind of just jumped into, I believe, the. So I just, if you had more initial thoughts, I guess, other than just commenting on what we had said.
Oh, no, I think that's all I wanted to do for my first impression.
Nice.
Wow.
But so
You guys
okay,
said so much of what I already feel about this thing as well. So kudos to you guys.
Glad, to piggyback on what you just said of how they're that's what I was thinking watching. I was like, I could watch any of these stories being a movie, like the German Jewish couple, like that in itself. Like, yeah, I would watch that. And then even just the black couple that ended up doing the part of the deep south, just them in Germany, just them, because that's before we even saw them go back to the US. Like,
This story was very compelling, wasn't it?
Yeah, just their experience in Germany alone in 1930s, I would be like, yeah, give me that, right? Then the Deep South thing project between them and the other couple of having to pretend like they're the servants and stuff like that. I'd watch just that. I'd watch just more, even though it's Nazi perspective, but the whole part of the lawyers going through the Jim Crow laws, like, that is
Who knew
super
about
interesting.
that?
I don't remember, like, it vaguely a little familiar, like, but I don't remember it. And I was like, I'd watch a whole thing of that. I'd watch how demented and like it's just all freaking connected. So yeah, I'd watch a whole.
We also have to talk about the Dulets too.
The who?
Say it again.
The Dulets, the India.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. Like that we will be getting to that because
Right.
shocker, that was my favorite storyline. But Dino, you gave us your favorite. Did you?
I don't know. I was just saying all of those intrigue me, and maybe the India one, because like you said, that's the one that I think we all know the least about. So maybe that's what I would like, that one guy and how he went to Colombia and all that. Like, that might be up there for my favorite, just because it's the one that I know the least about, if that makes sense, you know.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
I'd go with that just because that's what I least know about.
Well, I'll
Yeah.
say the same exact answer, and you can spare me the trouble, actually, because that's how I feel,
Yeah.
sincerely. Anybody else favorite scene or storyline that you kind of liked that maybe could have stuck with a little longer?
I
Love
actually
story.
really. Oh, sorry.
Marina, go ahead.
I'll be quick. Love story between her and her husband.
Oh,
Right.
I'm such a
God.
chick.
Aw,
Like it
that
just
was
was
so.
like, why did he die?
It
Yeah,
wasn't
that was
his
Painful,
sad.
fault that
man.
happened in real life.
No.
Like I
Because
don't know.
I felt the same way. I was like, why would they do them like that? I was like, no, that actually happened. So,
Wait,
oh,
so
okay.
the pasta was bad.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
The
Oh,
pasta had a brain tumor.
oh no. Why
See,
would
so
you
did I
say
miss
that?
that? Did they say why he died?
No, but I looked at it afterwards.
Oh,
In the movie, they don't talk about it, but I looked, and apparently he had been diagnosed with a brain tumor. I don't know. So they, for the movie's sake, that I guess wasn't as important on just her having the loss, and it being sudden.
yeah. It
You
was
know,
meant
you
for
know what?
centuries of
Since,
what?
since we're talking about scenes that are favorite and stuff, I want to mention a scene that I definitely don't want that scene to be looked away or not mentioned. And I have to mention that scene where she's interviewing that old white guy
Mm-hmm.
and he's feeling like, yo, like this happened when we were kids. And it was that whole kid in the, like, going into the pool. Oh my god.
Yeah, that was a
I
tough one to watch.
cried
Heartbreaking.
my butt
Heartbreaking.
off.
And
My
then even that little kid ended up being some scholar as well. Because it said she wasn't able to interview him because he passed away like 3-4 months before got to that point of the book. Like all of these stories are just
You feel so bad for that child in that. But I'm going to tell you, as I was watching it, I was like, look at all the trouble that all of these adults are going through to like punish this little boy. Like
it's crazy
a
how much
lot of people went through a lot of trouble that day to punish a 10-year-old kid who had just won the Little League championship.
I thought it was just the one the swimming pool park attendant, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Other
the people
than
who ran the pool.
clearly well no. I thought that's they forced was it also which is weird, right? Because if you have like 20 parents, you would think they would over out they would make the pool attendant allow him to go in.
Most of the
yeah.
parents weren't there. None of the boys' parents were there, just the coaches, remember?
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
you would think that like anybody from the outside looking in would say something, but I guess
You
that's
would
why.
think any single person
Yeah.
besides the coach would have
Yeah.
stood up and said, hey,
Yeah,
let this kid in.
But that's
That's the
why.
but if
point
it
of the story.
was,
That's
Yo,
what makes
yeah,
it so sad. Like nobody stood up.
and the
Nobody did
scene,
anything. Everyone just accepted this. Like that's the tragedy in it. That's the
and
tragedy in all of it.
talking about accepting. How about the lynching scene, where like everybody's just standing up and like,
Like it's a Friday thing to do. Like everybody's
So that is
yeah,
like I do like that they didn't like gloss over that and they put that in the movie. I'm probably a little bit desensitized to that personally already. Years ago, I went to an exhibit of these traveling photographs of like lynchings of the South, and obviously leaving something like that devastated. Probably looked
Yeah.
at over 100 pictures that day. The fact that there's 100 pictures that exist and they all have a story is devastating. So like when I see that stuff, I think I won't say I've cried all I can cry about it, but that's something that I cry about a lot. So in this particular situation, it didn't like devastate me.
So
yeah.
similar, especially moving to the U.S., moved to Alabama to Birmingham, and we lived right by the church that had gotten bombed and stuff like that. And it's really big on the civil rights movement and really nice museum. Kind of how they were walking in Germany in those museums. They have civil rights museum in Alabama, which is at least when I went as a kid, it felt that way. Like they had it broken up into what the classrooms were. They had it broken up into like not interactive, but they had like the Greyhound bus. They had everything that was kind of tactile that you could kind of see the segregation in like a tactile form, not just pictures. But what made me think watching the lynching was how they filmed that with the kids in that scene. Like I was thinking from that point of view, is did they add the body in post? Or would they have kids now? Would they have, because there were some young kids in that shot pointing up. Would they, in today's filmmaking, would they have young kids be a part of that? And what is that talk with the young actors? That's what went into my mind in that moment, just because I have seen a lot of that and
I think you have to be honest with them. You know, they're in the workplace and they need to know the truth.
but that's what I'm saying. But would they have that there, or would they explain like this is a lynching, but we're not gonna have that, but you're gonna be pointing up at something that that's all I was going through my
Oh
mind
yeah,
in
no,
that
they know.
moment was filmmaking part of it, not the actual historical position.
I think they know. I mean, you
in,
have to. You have
in
to
a
be
couple,
honest with somebody like that.
in a couple. I really have like I really like Ava, and on a couple panels that she's talked on, she's spoken on the fact that she's very communicative, like, and with even like with background artists, like on making sure they understand what's happening in the scene and things, and like just making sure people like take like integrity in
Mm-hmm.
their role, even if it's small, even if it's extra work. So I definitely feel like she explained that situation, because it was like, it's a weird thing. Like if I could describe how those people looked while they were watching it, it was just, it was like, yeah, like it was like a thing to do. Like, you know, when you look for like local activities in your community, like it just felt like the whole gang came out and watched it. They probably barbecued after. Like it's just so disheartening. But like, and they all conveyed that look. Like it was so believable to me. Like it wasn't like angry or happy. It was just like amusement almost, and like justice had been served in their eyes, which is absolutely crazy. Like
There is pleasure in it. They used to send out postcards. Those were postcards that were mailed anywhere the mail would go. You know what I mean? Like they were pleased. There was gift shops like dedicated to this shit. They would sell them in like roadside cafes, like the souvenirs from the day. Like the shit was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, did we get everybody's favorite scene or side story?
Oh, not me. I thought it was very interesting that they did they did connect the two stories of the researchers from the South and Germany. So like when you got to see the merriment of the two, seeing the big huge horde of book burning, and then also like it's weird because that scene itself has almost everything in the film, like not only the two stories from Germany and the South, but also the modern day. Because you see at this book burning that there is now a monument, which is just a bunch of empty shelves in the ground that you could only see through glass to represent how much knowledge and how many books were lost because of this book burning. It was a very beautiful shot that they had from that inside to go upwards to see, people looking down on it. I like, yeah, that scene was very powerful, and also the German guy telling them like, you don't know what's going on, but you have to run. Like get out as fast as you can. This is about as a powerful image that you're gonna get. Just leave. I was only disappointed though because we didn't get to see Indiana Jones in that scene, and history told us that he was
Yeah,
there.
he got an autograph. Well, they had more than one burnings. It was a different one.
Yeah, no,
They
but
had multiple ones.
in all honesty, like because it's also a really powerful quote that's on the monument too. Like first they burn books and then they burn people, which was something that I actually already knew from that area. But it's powerful to like this is kind of how it starts. Like
Yeah.
once you remove information and whatnot, then you remove people.
I mean, there's so many like this is again. I forget who brought it up, but of maybe Marina just talking about basically taking racism word out of it, right? And let's focus on caste and let's find the parallels. Which, oh man, I'm about to go into, not right, but just the idea. I don't know. Anyway, uh, I don't know what Jason wants to talk about. Um,
Well, what I was going to say, um, what I was going to say was that because I didn't talk about the scene um, that is my favorite scene. Uh, I was curious, did any of you guys know that existed, that level of the caste system existed in India?
no, I did not know people were out here cleaning sewers and poo, and it was a certain group of people that had to do it. It was so
Yeah.
devastating. Like it's so infiltrated into their system of things that like they have processes for it. Like
Mhm.
he was oiling him down so it would be a little less harsh. And it's just so crazy to me. Like, I mean, I know there was a lot of other points and parts to how it works there, but like, I mean, it's hard to not think about the fact. And like I was totally already shocked about it, and then they showed it, and it's just like this
Yeah.
more.
I think you have to show it. Like the same way
Yeah.
you show the lynchings, the burnings, like
Yeah.
the
Because
bodies, you have to show it.
Yeah,
I
because we'll be so quick to put something in the
yeah
back of our minds that's not relatable to our scenario if we don't
Mm,
see it, and I hate that. But a lot of people don't know how to put themselves in other people's
yeah.
shoes without a visual.
Mhm.
I
I'm
was
g-
okay, I do, but but it's still, man, that it broke my heart.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
I'm glad
crazy
you brought
because
up. Go
oh,
JP.
I was gonna say I definitely learned it actually in social studies in high school, like that early on about the caste system. But it's so crazy because even just like the civil rights movement, they talk about this shit as if it happened a long ass time ago. But like, especially when it comes to like the stuff when it revolves around caste, it's still there. Like it's like that's like that part is crazy. Like I knew that it was still there. I learned pretty much like in college, like watching like foreign films, like, oh no, that shit is actually still going on. But I
So
had no idea
the
that there was a movement. Go
you
ahead.
learned about the caste system in social studies, but did you learn about this very specific group or this very bottom tier of
Oh
the?
yeah, no. The Untouchables were something that we did learn about. But it like the way that they talked about it, it seemed like, oh no, they don't do that shit anymore. It was like,
That
oh no, but they do.
I do remember it as the Untouchables when I kind of learned about it, but again, it's that ignorance. It's ignorant. Me think of just like, oh, this is what happened, right? So I'm glad. I think Marina said they showed it because I also think like, oh yeah, the caste system it's been broken away after all these years, and then it's like, oh no, I'm just the dumbass that just assumes that oh this crazy shit is we're over. We're over all this evil shit, right? Like we're done being evil to each other is my mind at to that extent, and then it's like, oh no, never mind. I'm just not uh tied into reality like I
You're on
should.
mute, Jason.
I was saying we're right in the thick of it.
I
It's
know.
not over.
And even in
It we're
scenarios
in
where
it.
something isn't active, right? Like going back to social studies, clearly, Dino and JP, your school systems had way better curriculums on social studies because I had never heard about that until this movie. Like that, how it affected in like in those parts of of the world. But
I've heard of the caste system, but I never heard of any tier of how the caste system works. I didn't. I've never. That never came up in any of my studies or understanding.
yeah, what was I going to say? Oh, but even like in situations to touch on 2 points, right? About like how it is in America, right? And when we're talking about things, we thinking that certain chunks of it is over. Obviously things echo and things, but like even when it is over, I feel like my social studies class, um, I feel like it was like there was slavery, Harriet Tubman, and then Abraham Lincoln saved everybody. Like that's what like I kind of as a child, like it was like engraved very quick. It's like just a chapter and it's like next war, go. I learned more about the poverty and the food that was happening in those years than I did about things like that. It's very like brushed away, like we told you, but next kind of thing. Almost like they're burning books in Germany. It's like almost like
Yep.
the same, like trying to get rid of the information. But also too, like I one of my favorite second favorite scenes, like I really like I said the love story, just and I love that this movie did that because I'm the kind of person I can't sit through a documentary. So it was really cool to see something like made within a drama, but keeping it factual, but giving us a story. So while yes, I definitely would have loved more to see more of like her love with him and things. I also really like the scene where she was selling the house and talking about how people often say that they didn't live like during a time where something was happening and the whole I forget like the exact wording and if anybody remembers go for it but like how like you didn't build the house but like, if you see cracks in it like you have to help fix those too um
Right.
or but yeah that was another one of my favorite scenes as well.
Hey, can we talk? Can we talk about the scene of "Make America Great Again"?
Uh,
Your favorite actor? Oh
oh,
man, that's
Offerman.
back to back.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in the movie last week?
Yeah,
What
he
was the
was in
movie last week?
Civil War.
No, in Dumb Money.
He
Mm,
was
Oh
Oh
yeah,
Dumb
he
yeah.
was that money.
yeah.
It's King Griffin.
He's low key like dominating.
This
He was in The Last of Us.
yeah.
um, yeah. So I love that because, and I love that they tied into it later. Later on, they were saying how um like she brought up that it was like people are more understanding when they get to know you.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
she said that later
Yep.
on in the movie,
Mhm.
but then you realize that that's what she was doing in the basement. Like, now
Yep.
that you know I have a mother and you have a mother, like, we're no longer just something that you can turn away. Because again, like, people ostrich so hard. Like, ostriching, they say when an ostrich is stressed, it puts its head in the sand.
Yep.
And that's what people do. Like, if you don't humanize a person, so much easier to just like hide behind a logo and be a part of the Proud
Yeah.
Boys and blah 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 blah. But this person has a mother just like you. You guys have lost people just like each other. And man, then all of it, just even that one simple exchange, it doesn't always work like that. He gave her a more honest quote about something and put more work into it, but just so quickly to like label people that are different from us when we don't have any information on them. And I just love that point was brought up.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I going to the house selling point. I love that you brought that up because I was right there. Right, that's always the deflection. And it's like it wasn't me. It's like my ancestors, but it wasn't me. It wasn't my mother. It wasn't my grandmother. It was and that just keeps going back. So I love that whole spiel there towards the end. But what I did write down, right, because it's a pretty long little bit, is her. But here we are, right? The idea of the pillars of the foundation of the house. Like, yes, you weren't there when the house was built, but the house, the foundation has cracks, and here we are. Someone at the end of the day has to fix or deal with the cracks in the foundation, and here we are. I thought that to me was so I love the way that Ava put that in the movie, and just the explaining it again kind of in that layman terms, kind of like in a different, like, how many different ways, it's so sad, how many different ways do we have to show suffering, right? Do we have to show racism, hate,
Yeah.
bigotrism, xenophobia, like, right? How many different ways? And it's still going on today, right? Now it's Mexicans coming in through the south border. That's a big issue. Trying to dehumanize a whole group of people, right? Like, it's ongoing. It's the same freaking tools, and they just keep finding ways of tweaking it and making it work. And so, but here we are. It's like, yeah, we weren't the ones who started it, but we're here. What are we going to do about it? We got to try. We got to do something about it.
Yeah,
Do
true
you,
that. True that.
do you guys feel like it's interesting. How do you say the main actress name? Is it Anjue Ellis-Taylor or
Uh,
on
Anjane?
Anjane? I don't
Hmm.
know. Are you saying it for sure? You know,
I think it's Anjane.
For a
Anjane.
second, I thought it was Anja Taylor Joy because I didn't want to look
Oh my
right
God,
at
stop.
IMDb, but I saw like a Anja G and a T sound, and I was like, Anja Taylor Joy is gonna be this.
My I really have like, I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, or people just find their tribe, but I thought it was very interesting that she was also in like just speaking about like how many ways we have to spin this, like whether it's talking about the actual thing that happened graphically, or if it's about talking about history with facts. Like, it's just crazy. It angers me, but I guess we have to do our part too, and like, because people will act like they don't know something's going on. But she also played in like the TV show about the Central Park Five, When They See Us. She
Hmm.
was also in uh what's that show? I love it, I love it, I love it. It didn't get a second season. It was talking about like the towns that you can't go to at night, but it was also like a mystery show.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
Um.
The
Love
sundown
HBO.
towns.
Lovecraft Country. She
Yep.
was
Yep.
also had a
Ah,
small role Yeah. But on the same note, Niecy Nash was also in um she was also in the When They See Us, and the white lady at the dinner, the one who's like from like those like exorcism movies, Vera Farmiga. She was like also like she was Norman Bates' mom in that show too. Like she's been in a lot herself. She was also in When They See Us, and it's like, do they like? Are they? Is there like a coven of people who are like
Yeah.
fighting against racism?
Well,
Or they
some
cast
of those are also Ava projects, though, right?
um were they all was Lovecraft Country as well? I don't
No.
remember,
No,
but
not that one, but the other, at least one of the other projects you talked about, I believe she's also involved in. So,
yeah, I didn't know if
So
it was like an Ava like keeping the people that did well, or just people having like a genuine interest in telling these stories, especially since like they've a lot of them have moved on to play a bigger, like more widely known production. So to come back on a movie that didn't get a lot of advertisement, like I really appreciate them telling these stories, because that'll be another thing. Like you're in the mainstream, a person will probably watch this more because they love Niecy Nash. Like that's that lady who was in that serial killer TV show and she didn't want to eat that sandwich. Like it goes a long way for people once they make it to continue to tell these stories and be a part of these stories. So I really appreciated that from them.
yeah, it's weird to say cameos in a movie like that, like this, but there's some pretty big cameos. I was thinking, I was like, oh, damn, all right, way to go. These are some big names coming in for one scene, killing it. And then just, it's like, oh, wow, okay. No wonder I didn't know they were in this movie, or that this movie kind of existed, because it wasn't really brought up. I don't remember seeing it.
And maybe they couldn't advertise as much because it came out during the strike, the actors' strike, I believe, and
makes
it was
sense.
hard for actors to come. I had heard of it. I'd gotten a couple of invites. Like they were doing panels still, but like art department.
Got
Like they
it.
couldn't, like the actors weren't streamlining it, so you probably weren't as interested to go see like the costume department. But I did put it on my radar. But yeah, I do.
There's a gag rule during the strike, right?
What does that
Yeah,
mean?
Marina wouldn't talk to us for this whole time.
Well, actors couldn't promote themselves.
She wasn't returning calls or texts, just
Well, for
emojis. It
context
was,
here, this movie is a resounding flop at the box office. It only grossed $4.8 million at the box office on a $38 million budget.
wow.
You got to blame all the dummies out there in the
And
world.
when did it come out? Say?
It came out sometime in
Last year,
2023.
2023.
But
That is
guess what?
insane.
Guess what?
Last year.
Guess
What?
what? This movie is gonna make that money right back from
After
streaming platform deals.
after
Well,
our
so
video comes out, after
yeah,
our
once
review
like
comes
this
out,
gets a few platform deals or whatever, maybe it does a little better with the rental market. But also, you guys mentioned it earlier, this should be required viewing in some schools. I
yeah,
feel like this is at least high school age. Everyone should
yeah.
see this movie because it just sort of wraps up. It doesn't really wrap up like world or American history, but it's a nice little package to start with for people to start trying to grasp what's going on.
Well, it's critical thinking of like, this is what I know. This is something else that I don't know. This is something somewhere else, and it's all connected. It's
It's
just
such a
different.
seminal work because this
Yeah,
is the kind of work that other people can build on top of as
yeah.
well.
And it's got different names to it, different languages, but it's all the same. Like the Nazis taking Jim Crow laws and like
Yeah.
build like that alone is just wild. Um, the other, I remember in Paraguay, again, my school system was completely different, but we were watching Amistad in school for like, just like, oh, we're gonna watch a movie today or whatever.
Well, you got
Popping
that class
Amistad,
too.
huh?
You got that class too.
Yeah, but it's like, that's like full frontal nudity right there, and we were in middle school, and I was like, whoa, okay,
Bro,
I guess.
I watch
This would have been a
Amadeus.
better watch than Amistad.
What?
Yeah, I think this would be great. I think biasly, like every middle school should do Freedom Riders. Every middle school should do this movie. I think we should throw in the Last Repair Shop in there.
And
And
keep
then
Radio Flyer.
huh?
And keep Radio Flyer in
That's
school.
What?
Tom,
What's
I feel
Tom
like
Radio
Hanks.
every
Fly?
school had to watch Radio Flyer.
I don't
Which
know
one was
Radio
that
Fly.
one?
That's Tom
That was the
Hanks,
one
right?
with a young Elijah Wood when he was a little boy.
Man,
Is
that
it
movie
not
used
the
to make
Cuba
me
Gooding
cry.
Jr. one?
Hero,
No, that's just
That's radio.
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 Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. Is
If you
radio.
guys
radio
have
not?
not seen Radio Flyer, I highly recommend.
I have, but you know what? If everybody else hasn't, that's going on my mental list of things to bring to Cinema Cup because
Thank you, JP, for getting my
All right, so let's
comment.
jump into final thoughts, shall we? I'll just do my final thought really quickly, and then you guys can follow up, and we'll see what happens in life. So I'm really glad I picked this movie. I'm really glad that I picked you guys to explore it with. um, I would recommend this movie to just about everyone. I feel like once you're at about the age of 13, 14, you're ready for this. I feel like a freshman in high school is prepared to start absorbing this information, and hopefully, it forces them to or inspires them to continue studying. Because it definitely inspired me to continue studying. Once this was over, I was going to buy the book Cast anyways, and then I looked it up on Amazon just to see, and the accompanying book was Deep South. And I was like, oh, I hadn't even considered getting that book, but kind of want to read it now, because that just seems like a tale all its own, like about this couple, basically living in the danger zone to record information. Like, I mean, I just feel like that book should be widely known, but here we are. So I would recommend this movie to almost anyone. I mean, there's something to be learned, I feel, for most people. And if not, it at least would inspire you to continued education on what the heck we're doing as humans. Uh, yeah. Who would I recommend it to? Would I watch it again? I would watch this thing again. I think so. I don't think this is off the watch list. I don't need to watch it right away. But like I said, it has inspired me to go a little bit deeper. So I will be reading the book, and I might even read Deep South. I don't know. Maybe I'll pick it up. Maybe I won't. I don't know. We'll figure that one out once I get to Cass. But I think, yeah, I think I will do some further studying in this thing. And I just want to say, like, movies like this seems like it could have kind of flopped hard the way they had to cut in and out of stuff. And I think they did that really good of keeping the story together. But I have always enjoyed stories about someone doing the process of a thing. So whenever we're seeing the hero learn to be better or learn the information or to figure out how to do the master strokes with their painting or play the piano or whatever it is, to see inside the process of a pro, it's always like a wonderful experience to me because I'm just a process orientated person and I'm fascinated with it. So just watching a movie about a writer figure it out is already just interesting to me. Those are my final thoughts. Steve Des, give us your final thought, please.
Yo. Final thoughts. Uh, this movie is quite an education piece. Great piece of cinema. I have no doubt, even though it was a flop in the box office, it's very understandable why. Because yeah, when this movie was released and everything, like, people are more into streaming and stuff. So I'm pretty sure, like, with streaming contracts getting passed around a little bit between Netflix, HBO, whatever, they're gonna make their money back. But this movie for sure, just like Jason said, I would definitely recommend people in schools for sure to like see this because it does, for the people that have that intrigue, they will continue the deep work and deep study in maybe the deep south. Get it? And yeah, and it would make you kind of want to open a book or do a little bit of research or use your smart devices for smarter things.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I feel like it will pique people's curiosity. There's something to grab. And come on, we all been in those classes that put some boring movies right, JP? And
Oh no.
sometimes they're not so amazing or so great, like Sunset Boulevard. But sometimes you do find movies like this that you are not having any expectations at all because you didn't see a trailer, you didn't read a synopsis, nothing, and then you just put it in blind, and all of a sudden you go like, you know what? That wasn't an entire waste of 2 hours and 20 something minutes. It was actually an education. And just like Jason said, I would rewatch this, maybe not as soon either, but it is definitely a movie that I would definitely consider to watch not only one more time again, but multiple times in the future. Those are my final thoughts. And I am so glad that Cast is over, at least in West Hollywood next to Target, because they were able to.
Right.
Oh my god.
Um, I guess I'll go. Um, I really enjoyed the film. I agree with everyone. Like, I'm really sad that I guess that little of it was money was made because it kind of dampers chances of other films like this coming out because they can point at that one and be like, look, no one wants to see the truth about stuff. That being said, I was thinking the same thing, Jason, of like, ooh, maybe I should buy this, and I'm like, I have a couple Audible credits. Maybe I'll get the audio version of these books. I wonder how those are gonna sound, but that's probably what I'm gonna be doing tomorrow. Uh, I mean, I already recommended this movie to my cousin across the street, and yeah, so I would whenever something like this comes up, whether it's race, whether it's international. Oh, we didn't even talk about it, but they even brought up Palestine. At the beginning, somebody was talking
Yeah.
about like how they weren't really using the word race and all that, and I was like, well, they were bringing up other words that might be an issue for people to hear. Um, that being said, also, yeah, I agree with that possibly being seen in classes and stuff. The only thing, and again, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was so great. It's that first 5-10 minutes. I felt like I do like at the end how like it all got tied in. It's almost like a in V for Vendetta when everything gets tied in. And I get it, V for Vendetta, graphic novel, boom, but the Trayvon Martin shooting and like all these other points are kind of all tied in to make like everything is connected, right? We're all connected. But just that very beginning, because I saw the Skittle bags, everything at the very beginning. I almost think this might be better just as a way for people to take it in that don't have the not attention span, but that might see it and get turned off is if it would have already started with the main character and like her hubby and then they bump into the person that's like, let me send you the audio clip. Because just getting the Trayvon Martin at the beginning gives you a completely different perspective of what the movie is going to be in a roundabout way. I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel that that would be easier to take in audiences that aren't ready necessarily, or people that know that that's how it starts are going to be like, well, I don't want my kids to watch a Trayvon Martin movie. But if this is about an author investigating that stuff, then they might like, yeah, let me sign off about some book smart woman, and then boom, education.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a pretty viable commentary. Um, okay, I guess JP, we got you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, as the resident dummy that didn't get all the brainy stuff, and I'm a crazy person that way. Like, yeah, you can't help but admire the movie for like how, like honestly, like I'm not surprised that it cost a lot of money because a lot of stuff that they had in here seemed very ambitious, and like there's like dude, the fact that they had to like kind of thread everything all together, and that the package came out as neat as it did, you can't help but admire that. Because for me it's a hard watch, and like that's the purpose of this movie. It doesn't shy away from like stuff. Sure, it doesn't go as hardcore as a lot of other pictures do, but this had a lot of stuff that I had to like put on, so I could understand why like they would not want to overwhelm the audience when they're already showing us like 5 different scenarios that are just absolutely fucking awful in history, and they're still going about. But oh man, I'm not sure if I could probably withstand a rewatch of this picture. That being said, I do believe it is a very important picture. Um, I do have some nitpicky stuff in regards to like maybe a few performances or some scenes, but it's neither here nor there. It doesn't ruin the movie going experience as a whole. So I would probably I give this I don't want to say just a B, not a B minus or B plus, just a B.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Would you recommend it to anyone?
Oh yeah, definitely. Ah man, I got. Oh Lord, I'm gonna recommend because look, the funny thing about the book is that, from my understanding, this book really, like you guys said it, it was fucking popular during the pandemic. So like, I can't recommend this to the smarties in the room because, like, of course they read the book. So it's like, why would you want to watch a movie about the making of the book? I'm gonna send it over to like dum dums like myself that like after reading the synopsis, like I don't get it. Like, don't worry, it'll get there. It'll get there once in the third act when you're supposed to get it. It'll get there. So just be patient. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it to those folks, and also like just history buffs in general, because like we see, especially those who are really into the recreation of like period pieces and whatnot. I think I've kind of said this with a lot of the war films that we've seen, that we reviewed. So definitely, even to those folks as well, who would definitely appreciate just that extra value, looking into, just because they recreated those things pretty darn well, in my opinion.
Okay. Very cool. JP, for all the smarty pants, just get the book. For the dummies like the rest of us, you might want to check this movie out. I have one last question for the evening, and that's Steve, what do you got for us next week?
Next week, I am
What's your
so.
final thoughts? So far,
Oh
I got
no!
my final thought.
this is how the caste system is built on
No,
the backs of women.
Oh, you not do your final thought?
I did
yes.
not.
She
Oh my
asked to
God,
be
I'm so
she
sorry.
asked to be last.
We'll
Maybe
fix it
that's
in
why.
post.
We'll fix it
Yeah.
in post. I don't know how I skipped over you. You guys so quiet over there.
Read the chat.
Yeah.
So,
Rude.
But
loved this movie. Yeah. Before I jump into my final thoughts, I wanted to talk about 2 things that I did not say and I really wanted to say. One, why was Blair Underwood in this movie for 22 seconds? Like, I just feel like he wanted to be a part of this, but like that was just so random. He does that a lot too, like just like small cameos. And 2, third favorite scene, when she was like staying at the Airbnb and had the conversation with the lady, and the lady was saying how like there is no way in HE double hockey sticks that you can compare what happened in America to what happened during World War II with the Jewish nation. And I just thought it was so beautifully done, because it's like you feel like you walk on eggshells when you try to talk about that time period and make people understand, the hurt. And I love that, like, and this ties into my final thoughts, that like the delicate conversations that I have had with so many people are pretty much all brought up here, and they're brought up like so with such educated answers, and like all the respect is there, because not one trauma is greater or worse than the other that have happened in history. But it's so hard, you feel so like you're offending people when you bring up these conversations, and I just really love like how the conversations went out, because like she brought up, I feel like we get so tied up on the points, like,
Yeah.
it like slavery was instituted for financial reasons, and the Holocaust was to eliminate a group of people. But like we get so tied up on the facts, I feel like we lose the emotion and the caring. And again, it goes to like people not understanding something until there's a visual. Like there's no competition in this. Like in reality, we just want all this. It'd be great if this evil could go away. And a huge stepping point in that is being able to have conversations where we're not so quick to throw down like that's like you can't talk about that. Nope. Like let's talk about it respectfully. And I love that there were so many respectful conversations, whether it was her mother, whether it was with colleagues, whether it was with, I don't know if that was an Airbnb that she was staying at or she was talking to these people or like old colleagues, but just like I do love that even though like Dino said, maybe like the order shot, you might have not gotten invested if you were a little scared about a topic that happened so recently, like in the past decade with Trayvon Martin, but I still like that they touched on things in such a way to where we're bringing this up, but we're being respectful and we're having these conversations and we're hitting you with facts and facts and facts and facts and more facts. And all that being said, I would add this. I have a list of movies for when people are like, I don't understand. Tell me what's happening. And boom, like this one, another movie, another documentary. And just like they're never gonna learn, but it's on that list that I'm gonna send to ignorant folks. But also I feel like this movie just needs more publicity to people who enjoy it, not just people that need to learn from it, but people that would like be and feel invigorated and like knowing the history of their traumas and the histories of like traumas all around the world. And if you're like me and you don't have the attention span for a documentary, I would definitely suggest this for someone like that as well, that likes to have these conversations but doesn't necessarily want to sit through the dramatics of a documentary. I'm like squirrel, no, with those. I watch it again. I don't know if I'll watch it again before I read up on some things. But I think overall, just watching it in full and like taking in the facts that they teach you in itself, it's good to rewatch because I was just so busy learning. Maybe I missed some like more. So now that I've retained a lot of the information, maybe watch it again to like be a little bit more at ease. Cause I'm like at the edge of my seat, like, what the fudge? What did that paper say? These fudgers took the concept of what they did in America to do this. Like, what? Like, yeah. So yeah, now that I've learned a lot, I like to go back and like kind of just like enjoy and like
Enjoy this movie.
will enjoy like the like that it is a movie, like the way it was filmed. And I just feel like it's so much information, it kind of takes away. Like I don't even remember wardrobe or like I don't remember anything. I just remember like learning. So maybe go back and just be like, okay, I already know what's going on, and now I can just like take it in.
What will they hide in history next? Thank you for that. Yeah, that's actually very insightful. I had many of the same feelings.
Since we're dissing people, I guess I only got one more question.
Yeah.
Steve, what do you got for us next
week?
No.
Oh, brother.
Next week, I'm glad you asked me because it is my turn for Cinema Club.
We're watching Hundreds of Beavers. Yeah.
That is not happening. I am out here for my ladies out there, like I know you like the categories that Marina puts out there, and I have to chip in, and I have to put part of some female empowerment type films with a classic. This one, everybody talks about it. I actually have never actually seen this film.
Tomb Raider.
Surprisingly enough,
with Angelina Jolie.
It is a classic, and it is something that I know Marina, out of everybody here, is gonna love the most. And we're talking about the one and only Scarface.
Oh my God.
I knew it was going to be something crazy or grumpy old men or.
We are going to say hello to my little friend.
If you don't want to watch it, Marina, I can just tell you verbatim every single line.
Just stay online until we get off. And Dino will reenact the movie for you. In real time. Complete with white suit.
Yep. Well, I got my doll. I have my little doll action figure.
That's terrific. You do. Okay. So yeah, I guess we'll see each other next week for Scarface.
So for Marina,
Woo,
JP,
woo.
Jason, El Dondino, me, Steve the CB. We'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Hi, I'm JP Cerno and welcome. Hi, I'm JP Cerno and thank you for watching Oye Dímelo. Hi, I'm JP Cerno and thank you for watching Oye Dímelo. Fucking shit. Okay. Hey, I'm JP Cerno and thank you for watching Oye Dímelo. Right?
Whole time,
Jesus
not even a
Christ.
flub.
And as soon as it's the third one, because this is the third one, right?
Not
I am
even a
JP
flub.
Cerno, and thank you for watching Oye Dímelo, Oye Dímelo, super cut of every time I fuck it up. Hey, I'm JP Cerno, and thank you for watching Oye Dímelo. Hey, I'm JP Cerno, and thank you for watching Oye Dímelo Network. And click here for additional videos, and don't forget to subscribe. The lonely singles in your neighborhood already did.